Good afternoon. Ken Jolliffe with BIS Commodities here in beautiful downtown Cedar Rapids, looking at the ag markets here for the week of May 29th. Corn on the week down 9.5 cents. Wheat down 37 1/4 cents. Soybeans, looking at the front month option, surprisingly was up a dime. So another little twist to the markets here when you look at the monthly movement. Corn for the month's down 14 3/4 cents. Wheat's actually up 3 cents for the month, and soybeans are down 42 cents. Breaking it down into the different commodities here on the corn, naturally the crop conditions report came out this week showing us at extremely high level of good to excellent, and this continues to put pressure on the overall corn market as we move into the bulk of the growing season now here, with the planted acres at roughly 97-98% done, across the belt. So the supply issues continue to weigh on the market, with the perception of extremely high yields could be in the cards for again this year. Demand side of things, export sales have been on old crop been running somewhat as expected, pretty much in line with what the USDA has forecasted for this year. Today's sales were roughly just a tad under 26 million bushels for the week. The ethanol side of things, when you look at the weekly grinds, continue to run just slightly above what is needed to match up with the USDA's projected numbers. Now, we did have the EPA come out finally today with their somewhat mandated numbers, for the biofuels. I think the trade was looking for something a little bit higher when you look at the 2016 year than what we got. But really, when you take a step back and look at things, you're up against the blend wall. You're up against whatever the overall demand would be for fuels and gasoline usage here in the United States. So that even though it continues to grow slightly, it isn't growing near what we saw when we started this whole process 4 or 5 years ago. So cash market wise, we're beginning to see a little more of the country movement, now that the crop's in the ground and up and growing. We've seen basis levels weaken in some areas, stay firm in other areas. There seems to be a fair amount of corn moving into both the commercial firms and the country elevators. A lot of it still continues to be put on DP contracts of some type. We'll see how that all works out here later this summer, but if the basis levels continue to weaken some more, that is going to be the best option that you want to look at. So soybeans, naturally kind of like corn, crop conditions continue to be good. We're going to be out there probably 70-75% planted here, when we see the report next week. Export wise, here we sold 11 million bushels of old crop beans last week, which is good. It appears that the USDA will probably have to slightly increase their export demand projections on the old crop, and we see those updated monthly reports here later in June. The biodiesel part of the EPA ruling today was a touch friendly, towards the usage for soybean oil. Thus, we had a strong rally in bean oil here today that can help support the bean market some. Wheat market. Oh, one other thing on the bean market, going back, the Argentine issue continues to be talked about as far as their labor strikes down there. Every day we hear stories that it could be settled. It seems every time we see one settled, we have another 2 or 3 of them pop up. And if this continues to drag out, settled or not settled, we still could see some additional, business boat by boat coming out of the U.S. just because we have the availability to get the bean or meal, to the buyer. So that'll continue to be a headline thing from day to day. Wheat market, we saw a strong rally, here, week to 10 days ago. We've taken most of that rally back away. When you talk about the wheat market, it's kind of a tale of two stories. You get the stories out of the southwest plains of Oklahoma and Texas, where we've all seen the flooding on the nightly news. There's quality concerns down through that area, but the flip side of that is we have moisture in other parts of the wheat growing areas that will have been offset from that. We were dry through Kansas for much of the spring. Now we have adequate moisture for the wheat moving forward there. So the wheat market continues to be one where we have very, very little demand coming from the foreigners into our country, as we saw today with the export sales near nothing. So as we move ahead, it's still a supply issue, overall, looking at the demand. Looking at the livestock, for instance, here, for the month, feeder cattle are up $8.30 for the month. June hogs up $2.30, and June live cattle up about $2.50. Very interesting to take a look at the move in the feeder cattle, as we're, like I say, up a little over $8 for the month. Most of that move came here this week. Just in the last 3 or 4 days. We did take it back down here, today on some profit taking, but it also shows that particular market continues to be one that is run by, strong fund buying, and a lot of computer headline type trading. So the cash market side of things have held pretty much steady here this week in the hogs and in the cattle, as we're hearing some $160 bids out in the countryside here, this afternoon. So as we move into a new month, in the month of June, it doesn't look like things are going to change all that much from what we've been through here, primarily over the past 60 days when we look at the grains. We're going to continue to look at these weather forecasts, and you take a glance at the 6 and 10 day, 8 and 14 day forecast, and it looks like it's very favorable for the growing conditions, not only across the areas of the United States, but it seems to be most of the northern hemisphere is still seeing good growing conditions to get everything up and started. So I guess if there's an issue when we look at supply side and new crop, both corn and beans, it'll be more as we get towards the end of June, first part of July, as we talk about the pollination period. But for right now, it's all about the supply side of things, and prices continue to be depressed. We moved corn prices down to within a couple of cents of the October 1st highs, and we saw the November beans this week post an 8 in front of them for the first time since June of 2010. So kind of looks like much the same as we begin a new month, next Monday. So with that, have yourself a great, safe weekend, and we'll move forward again.